Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It's Thursday morning and it's looking a bit ominous over there. Today I'm going to do a thought experiment. I'm going to ask a simple question. Is Jodisue Brown involved in the disappearance of Summer Wells? I'm just going to give you a range of scenarios. These are hypothetical scenarios. Don't leave this video and say, this is what happened because Michelle said so. I know how rumours can start and spread. No, it's a thought experiment. It's a series of what ifs. There's so much been said about Jodisue this week. You know, this bizarre claim she made about knowing that Andy was selling drugs to the children of 110, selling drugs to Candice, saying she's not joking. She knows this happened. She found out a few days before Summer disappeared that Andy was selling drugs to kids. Andy knew that Summer was being abused. Andy was selling drugs that were used to sedate girls over at 110. These are massive claims, astonishing claims to make if they're not true. Now, of course, Andy has denied it. Of course he's going to deny it. Even if it's true, he's going to deny it. But she hasn't provided any evidence to back this up. She's provided some text messages that implicate Andy in having the access to drugs, like his mother's medication, beyond weed. You know, it'd be bad enough if he was selling weed to kids. He says he isn't, but that would be bad enough. What concerns me more is he selling drugs to Candice that are used to sedate girls at 110 Ben Hill Road? One of those girls being Summer Wells. Even if all of that's true, it doesn't mean to say that that's got anything to do with Summer's disappearance, though. That could be a fact, yet Summer disappeared for a completely different reason. How would Summer being sedated for abuse lead to her disappearing? You have to make that jump and make that connection and make that connection stick, provide evidence for that connection. There isn't any. We're no further forward in understanding what happened to Summer, even if we can say that claim's true. You get where I'm going with that? So then, is Jodisue involved in Summer's disappearance? Is she making up claims like this to take the heat off herself? We have to ask those questions. Or is she making those claims to get Andy into trouble because she's spiteful, she's vindictive, she's jealous, and she can't stand the fact that Andy has moved on? And actually, this is a completely fabricated claim. Absolutely horrific, disturbing, vile, and vindictive if it is. But before we start looking at the possibilities of what might have happened, we've also got to explore the possibility that Jodisue is nothing but a nosy neighbour who took Summer's disappearance as a way to bolster, reinforce her hatred of out-of-towners, out-of-staters coming in and buying parcels of land. Jackie Dobbs did that. The altercation with Jackie Dobbs the day before Summer disappeared. Complete coincidence. Let's just say this. Complete coincidence. But she used it because she's vindictive and nasty. She used that. Tried to insert herself in the case from ground zero. Whether she heard the scream, a noise or not, I don't know, because that's not supported in the text messages that she made. She didn't tell Andy, even though she'd been talking to him all day in text message. She didn't tell him about the scream. She told him about a noise at 2:14, but not about a noise, a scream between 4:30 and 4:42. So once she knew Summer had disappeared, maybe she made up the scream. She was quick thinking and saw it as a way to bolster this idea that out-of-towners were a danger to Beech Creek. She said as much. She said as much on the 16th of June, just a day after Summer disappeared. Now, she might have truly believed what she was saying. She might have truly believed that Jackie Dobbs or one of the tree trimmers took Summer. You know, she's put two unusual events together. It's called illusory correlation. And people are liable to see an unusual event that is negative and then correlate that with another unusual negative event. Once she started that thought process, then it would be difficult for her to get out of that thought process. So either she truly believed that at the time, or she saw it as an opportunity to further this vendetta she had about out-of-towners coming in and taking land. You know, the fact that they were legitimately buying land that was legitimately for sale doesn't matter. Before I even mention any possibilities of Jodisue being involved, I will say there's a very real possibility that she had absolutely nothing to do with it, but inserted herself because she's a nosy neighbour, and then started to make up her own theories, whether that was out of spite and vindictiveness or whether it was out of, oh my God, this happened yesterday, now this has happened today, they must be related. You might conceivably do that. She's kept it up because she enjoys the attention. It's not about Summer. It's about her fights with different YouTubers, being the very thing that she despises. And she can't see it. She can't see it. You know, she's spreading poison and projecting that onto everyone else. So there's that, right? And I think that is very, very possible, that she's got nothing to do with it, inserted herself for her own reasons. Completely unethically, immorally, but that's what she's done. Now, let's consider the alternative hypothesis that she has got something to do with Summer's disappearance. And she's inserted herself from ground zero to keep close to the investigation, to find out what's going on. We know people who commit murders do that. People involved in serious crime sometimes do that. Keep abreast of what the cops are talking about, what people are talking about. That's a possibility as well. And I think that's a very good possibility if she's involved in some way. But if she's involved, there has to be a motive, doesn't there? You know, I always say, think about the why first. Before you go any further, you've got to establish a why. Why would someone cause Summer to disappear? I've said this time and time and time again about Don, Candice and Grandma, about the family. What would be the motive? Now, all of the different theories that have been put forward in relation to Don, Candice and Grandma, one of them or all of them combined working together, all of the different whys they might have been responsible for Summer's disappearance can also be said of Jodisue. For example, to cover up an accident, out and out murder because you got mad, a sale. How this might have occurred only comes after you establish a motive. So just like we've done for Candice, Grandma and Don over the last year, let's consider some motives if Jodisue's involved. All right, so Jodisue's involved because she's covering up an accident. Well, what accident might there be? Well, her son might have run Summer over in the road. I've heard that one a lot. Okay, but wouldn't there be evidence of a road traffic accident even if the hit is clean, and there's no blood, there's still likely to be body fluids. People relieve themselves quite often when they die. I think there would be some evidence on the road, on Ben Hill Road. Anything's possible, but I don't think it's that likely. What if someone had wandered onto Jodisue's property and she'd had an accident? Well, if that's the case, there'd really be no reason for Jodisue to cover that up, would there be? She just say, you know, the neighbour's kids come over here. She shouldn't be over here. No one was watching her. And she fell off something or into something or, you know, whatever accident might have occurred. Unless someone had snuck into their home and eaten a load of drugs, how likely would that be? Not very likely. Right, not very likely at all. As well as being an unlikely, very unlikely scenario, it's also not backed up by any evidence, because the search dogs stopped on Ben Hill Road. They stopped at Jodisue's feet. They didn't carry on. If someone had walked over to 125 Ben Hill Road, walked up the driveway, and then something bad had happened, that's a clear track. A dog would pick that up, I'm sure. I've never thought accident as my number one theory, whatever that might be, and a cover-up for Candice, Don and Grandma. You know, the motive for covering up an accident might be to hide abuse that might be found at an autopsy. She'd accidentally died after ingesting drugs. It's possible, right? If we bring it back to, is it possible that girls were sedated at 110? Yeah, it's possible. So, did Jodisue want to hide the fact that someone had gone onto her property, ingested drugs and died? Is it possible the same could be said of Candice? Yes. But is it likely? I don't know. I don't think so, but it's on the table. Out and out murder? Well, Jodisue's got a nasty mouth, but is she really capable of absolutely, you know, out and out intentionally murdering a 5-year-old child? You know, beat her to death because Summer had the audacity to come onto her property. Well, just like I've said, Candice, Grandma and Don, I don't think Summer was murdered. I don't think there's an intentional first-degree murder happened there. And I'll say the same about Jodisue. And again, if Summer had wandered over to her property and been beaten to death, surely there'd be a track of Summer walking over there. Then we get to sale, trafficking. Was the reason for Summer to get gone one of, you know, a financial motive, either as a permanent sale or as a temporary transaction that went wrong? We've said that of Candice. I talked at length over, you know, a few months ago when that was my number one theory. Talked at length about the motives for that from the family's perspective to how it might have happened. So is Jodisue, you know, unbeknownst or involved with the Wells, involved in trafficking? Well, have we got any evidence for that? There's as much evidence for that as it's happened by Candice, Grandma and Don. None. But it's a viable theory because we know that trafficking is big in East Tennessee. If someone took her off the property, one of the intentions could be trafficking. So, what if the Bernards and Jodisue are involved in trafficking and they were able to take Summer? Not that Summer wandered over to their property, but they were able to take Summer from 110. It's a big risk. Jodisue said herself, it's a big risk someone took. But is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible that the person who took Summer, not that Summer wandered off, someone who took Summer from the property was connected with that family. We know they've got drug connections. Is there any evidence that they're involved in human trafficking? No, or else they'd be in jail, wouldn't they? But it's just as likely as Candice being involved, or even Don being involved. It's just as likely. So it's on the table. Now, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, here's a scenario that I keep coming back to, and I can't shake it. Now, I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just saying I can't shake it from my head. No more evidence for it than Jodisue having someone take Summer because she's involved in some kind of trafficking ring. So what if, and this is going down the rabbit hole, what if Jodisue was so vindictive, so hateful, so spiteful about somebody buying her land, the land she wanted, you know, the land that she put an offering on, the land that she thought should be hers. And she wanted to send a message out to Beach Creek. Saw Summer playing out, sent her son down to get Summer, and they were going to hide her, maybe for a couple of days. They were going to hide her, easy to get her out, you know, going through the trails, easy to get her out. Is Jodisue well enough to do those trails? Don't know, but her son is. And she made up this story as a cover, the story of the scream, the flash of the vehicle going up the driveway. She made that all up. But this isn't just an accidental scenario. Like trafficking, this is premeditated. And she'd been leading up to it over the last few days. That's what I can't shake. She'd been leading up to it over the last few days, saying something's coming, being quite smug about some things that she said before Summer disappeared. It could be a complete coincidence that she said those things, but I can't shake the fact that she did say those things. But am I making an illusory correlation? Possibly. I'm not Jodisue. I'm making that illusory correlation that Summer was taken because Jodisue was so negative about land sales. Summer would have been the kid that was easiest to take, smaller, less likely to fight back, less likely to tell, maybe. And they were just going to hide her for a couple of days, and then they were going to let her go. Well, the only way that would be possible, to let her go without getting into trouble, would be if Summer said absolutely nothing. You know, if Summer was completely non-verbal and unable to say who she'd seen, where she'd been. But she's not non-verbal. She can talk. She's not non-verbal, as some people have said. So that's one hell of a risk for somebody to do, just out of spite, to prove a point that bad things happen when out-of-towners buy land, you know, land that you wanted, that you believe is the Bernard's birthright. She was making those... Oh, Cassie's just flushed out some pigeons or something. From none of this land is Jodisue's birthright. It's Andy's family. Andy's family that's got this land, or had this land, or should have this land. But she was so desperate for Andy to stay, she wanted to ingratiate herself into the family. So her and maybe her son cooked up this idea. I can't shake that. But it's down a complete rabbit hole. And it's easy to go down a rabbit hole and get stuck down there because you're making an illusory correlation. So any scenario that I think of where Jodisue might be involved, I have this... But would she though? Is the motive strong enough? Does that make sense? The how would be easy. The how would be very easy. You know, to take her. Because Summer wouldn't protest because she knows them. But the motive, it's the motive I'm interested in. Is the motive sufficiently strong? I don't know, you guys. You tell me. Because something happened to Summer. Somebody is responsible for what happened to Summer. But is it Jodisue or any other member of the family? I don't know, you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well. See you in the next video. Goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer, who's going mental. She's going all over this field, flushing out birds.